Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to meet you all again in the third class of lesson 2, nutrition in animals. So in this lesson, so far we have learned about the different modes of feeding habits found in different types of animals. Then we learned about the process of nutrition, which includes ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and digestion. We also learned about nutrition in amoeba, the way the amoeba feeds its prey. And we started this nutrition in human beings last class, where we have learned about the structure of digestive system, in which we have also completed mouth comprising of teeth, tongue, salivary glands. A digestive system comprises of mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, then stomach. Stomach leads to small intestine, which is called as which can be classified as duodenum, jejunum and ileum. So the food that we eat enters into mouth, buccal cavity, then to esophagus. From there it goes to stomach. From stomach it enters into the small intestine first and then to the large intestine, and from large intestine it reaches the rectum to anus. So the full pathway starting from the mouth till anus, we call it as alimentary canal, or it is also called as gastrointestinal tract, shortly named as GIT, gastrointestinal tract. And the study of this system, that is about the digestive system, where you learn about the various parts of the digestive system, functions of the digestive system, I mean in the sense of physiology of digestive system. The study of this is actually called as gastroenterology. As we have discussed last class, the digestive tract comprises of accessory glands, which include salivary gland and liver and pancreas, and the digestive tract, which is otherwise called as alimentary canal or gastrointestinal tract. So when food is put in the mouth, it is crushed by the teeth. The tongue involves in the mixing of saliva, and that apart from that, the tongue consists of many taste buds, which enhances or which gives us the sense of taste of the food. Then this food, which is crushed in the mouth, and I hope you remember I said last class, the digestion starts in the mouth, because we have this saliva which starts the digestion of carbohydrates. So digestion starts in the mouth. So once when the food is crushed or masticated, it is swallowed and it enters into the first gut called as pharynx. As we have discussed before, pharynx is a common pathway for both respiratory system as well as digestive system. That is, the air we breathe passes through pharynx and it enters into the respiratory tract. Similarly, we have food and water which also passes through the first pathway named pharynx. From there, the food enters into the digestive tract. Food and water enters into the digestive tract, and we have a mechanism which separates the respiratory system and the digestive system, okay, which is called as epiglottis. So if you could look into this picture, you come across a small structure which is called as epiglottis. Actually this opening is called as glottis. Above this glottis, this small flap is present, and so this is called as epiglottis. Epi means above. Above the glottis it is present, so it is called as epiglottis. This epiglottis helps the food to properly enter into the digestive tract. Instead of entering it, it avoids the entry of food into the respiratory system. So that is the work of glottis and epiglottis. So actually glottis is the entrance, and the gate or covering that is present above the glottis is called as epiglottis. So as you could look into it, it enhances, it smoothly sends the food into the digestive tract. So this is the digestive tract, instead of sending the food into the respiratory tract. So this is respiratory tract. Okay, so pharynx, if it is into respiratory tract, it is called as larynx, trachea. So it goes to the lungs. Air goes into the lungs. But this food, through this by the help of this epiglottis, food it enters into the digestive tract. So now it is entering into the esophagus. Esophagus is a hollow tube which connects the mouth and the stomach. It pushes the food by means of contraction and relaxation of the wall into the stomach. It pushes the food into the stomach. This esophagus comprises of several layers of tissues, and these tissues enhances the movement of food from the mouth towards the stomach. That is, even if a person is upside down, the food automatically moves from the mouth towards the stomach and not in the reverse order. I hope you can understand what I am saying. Okay, and this food actually, when we swallow a food, it forms a small ball-like structures, and that enters into the stomach in the form of small balls or ball-like structures, and those are called as bolus. This movement of food from the mouth towards the stomach is called as peristalsis, or it is also called as peristaltic movement. Stomach. Stomach is a J-shaped muscular bag which comprises of gastric glands. These gastric glands are involved in the production of gastric juices, that is, enzymes that are involved in digestion. When it comes to this stomach, there are certain important enzymes that are produced, which includes first of all hydrochloric acid. It also produces mucus, and thirdly it produces lipase, an important enzyme, lipase. So each enzyme is involved in the digestion of various nutrients. So there are two ends of a stomach. One which is nearer the heart, called as cardiac sphincter. So this is a opening of the stomach which is found on the anterior region of the stomach. Since it is nearer to the heart, it is called as cardiac sphincter. And the second opening, which is nearer to the small intestine, and that is called as pyloric sphincter. These two sphincters, they are involved in the proper movement of the food. That is, one cardiac sphincter which enhances the movement of food from the esophagus to stomach. After digestion, the pyloric sphincter is involved in the movement of the digested food from the stomach towards the duodenum. So the first part of small intestine is called as duodenum. So now food is entering into the stomach through the pyloric sphincter. So this is how the bolus, as I said before, small food balls enter into the stomach, and inside the stomach where you come across the presence of gastric juices. these gastric juices are involved in the digestion process. So with regard to this gastric juice, I said again, I am repeating, hydrochloric acid. There are many enzymes like pepsin and lipase. Each one is involved in the digestion of carbohydrate or protein or vitamin or fat. So actually in food we have more number of microorganisms which we cannot observe or look at naked eye. So these microorganisms are killed or digested by the so-called hydrochloric acid. The function of hydrochloric acid is, I could list out in 3 ways. 1, it kills the germs entering into our mouth or entering into our digestive tract. 2nd, it maintains an acidic condition such that the other enzymes could react and digest the food in the stomach. So it maintains the acidic condition. And thirdly, to some extent it also involves in the digestion process. So these are the various uses of hydrochloric acid. What we are looking at is some an idea of how the food is digested. For example, here what you are looking is proteins being digested by pepsin. Similarly, you come across vitamins are also digested, fat digested. Okay. With regard to this fat, where you have this lipase enzyme, the word lipase comes from the word lipid. So since enzyme name, so you come across these enzyme names which ends with ASE. For example, maltase, sucrase, cellulase. So these are all examples of carbohydrate degrading enzymes. Like that you have this lipase which breaks or digests the fats into fatty acids and the glycerols. So here you come across the enzyme which acts on the, this is just an idea, okay. So how the enzyme lipase which digests the fat into fatty acids and remaining glycerol, okay. When I say hydrochloric acid, actually hydrochloric acid is a harmful chemical, it's an acid. So the pH of hydrochloric acid found in our body is about 2. So acids are harmful to us, harmful to our body, but still this acid is useful for us. That's why God has gifted us with hydrochloric acid in our stomach. The feeling of hungriness, it is because of this hydrochloric acid. That is, when you are eating at normal time duration regularly, what will happen is there is no problem. But when you are busy with something, for example, you are busy with your homework, or you are reading the test, or sometimes busy with your games, and when you are postponing your timings, the timing that you eat usually, what will happen is slowly the hydrochloric acid will start to rupture your stomach, and thereby you will face various problems, especially you will face ulcer. To protect ourselves from this ulcer or from the effect of hydrochloric acid, the pH of hydrochloric acid found in our stomach is 2, okay, which means it is highly acidic in nature. To protect us from this hydrochloric acid, God has gifted us with another alternative named mucus. So this mucus lining found in our internal part of our stomach helps us or protects us from the effect of hydrochloric acid. As soon as the food is digested, so the food slowly starts to enter from the stomach towards the duodenum. And as I said before, we have this pyloric sphincter, which actually avoids the undigested food, solid food, to enter into the duodenum. Even in stomach, you come across this peristaltic movement, which enhances or which initiates the digested food to move from the stomach towards the duodenum. I hope you remember the first part of the small intestine is duodenum. So the digested food enters into the duodenum. So duodenum is a U-shaped tubular structure. This duodenum is connected with two important accessory glands. One is liver and the second one is pancreas. Small intestine is about 7.5 meters long, as we have discussed before, which comprises of first part duodenum, jejunum and ileum. And this duodenum, the first part duodenum, is connected with the two glands. One is liver and the second one is pancreas. Liver is the largest gland found in our body, which comprises of three flaps, three muscular structures. And liver produces an important enzyme named bile juice. This bile juice is stored in a structure called gallbladder, and from gallbladder it is sent to the duodenum. As you could look here, this is pancreas, which is a leaf-shaped structure which produces an enzyme named as pancreatic juice. I hope you remember last class we learned that pancreas is a dual gland which acts as both exocrine as well as endocrine. So it is exocrine and endocrine nature. Previous class I have said what is meant by exocrine and what is meant by endocrine. Before learning about the other systems, I just want to say a few idea about this pH scale or pH. So pH stands for hydrogen ion concentration, so which means the number of hydrogen ions present in a substance, based on which we classify a substance into acid, base and neutral. So that is like how you have a number line in maths, we have a pH scale in physical science or in science, which starts with 0 to 14. Okay, so the range is from 0 to 14, where from 0 to 6 it is if the reading, that is when I am checking a substance, maybe a soil or a liquid or any solid or liquid. So if that pH reading which shows from 0 to 6, it may be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, which means it is acidic in nature. 7 is neutral. From 8 to 14, ranging from 8 to 14 is basic or alkaline. So based on which we say a substance is acidic or basic or neutral. I have here example of based on its pH. I have from below lemon juice, whose pH is about 2, which means it is acidic. Then I have in the middle blood, the pH of blood is 7.3, which means it is neutral. Then third I have baking soda, pH 9, so slightly basic, and bleach, that is bleaching powder, whose pH is 12.6. So lemon juice, example of acid, blood, example of neutral, and baking soda, example of alkaline or basic. And it doesn't mean that acid is not good for us, basic is good for us. No, not like that. Both strong acids and strong base, that is pH ranging 1, 2, 3, which means it is acidic, highly acidic. Similarly pH ranging 12, 13, 14, especially 13, 14, which is highly basic. So both strong acids and strong bases are corrosive in nature, that is if it touches our skin, it causes harm to us. Okay, so you learn about this pH in physical science. I just don't want to go deep into that. So we will continue with our digestive tract. We were learning about the movement of food from stomach to duodenum. That is, after digestion, the digested food is pushed into the small intestine. So the first part is duodenum, and I was saying that two glands are involved. I mean, they are connected to the duodenum. One is liver and second one is pancreas. So we have discussed all this before itself. Anyhow, so liver produces bile juice and pancreas produces pancreatic juice. These bile juice and pancreatic juice, they are involved in digestion. With regard to this bile juice, the bile juice is highly alkaline in nature, and it is because of this hydrogen carbonate. So the reason is, actually stomach is highly acidic, that is, I said pH 2, which is not good for our health. To maintain the pH of the food, it should be balanced, and so we have this bile juice which maintains the pH of our food. That is, when the bile juice mixes with the acidic food coming out from the stomach, slowly that acidic condition comes to normal. In duodenum, you come across a full completion of the digestion. Okay, so as we are learning, the digestion starts in the mouth. Again, the digestion continues in the stomach. Then it ends in the duodenum. That is, all kinds of complex carbohydrate molecules, that is polysaccharides, they are converted into disaccharides, and then they are broken down into monosaccharides. That is, polysaccharides, which is a very complex molecule which comprises of many number of molecules, okay, will be broken down into simpler molecules called as disaccharides, and a very simple molecule called as monosaccharide. For example, glucose. All the carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. Similarly, all the fats are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. All the proteins are broken down into amino acids. This is what you come across under digestion, which ends in duodenum. When you look into this liver, so you have this gallbladder where the bile juice is filled, and from there it enters into the duodenum. Similarly, on the left hand side you have pancreas, from which pancreatic juice enters into the duodenum. So the first small intestine is duodenum. So digestion ends there, and then from that fully all the food molecules almost digested. So I cannot say fully 100% digested. So almost digested, it enters into jejunum and ileum. When you look into this duodenum and jejunum, this tubular structure, small intestine, comprises of many minute finger-like projections. I hope you can find a small finger-like projections. The use of these finger-like projections is they absorb the nutrients which from the food. So that is the main function of this villi. Okay, these finger-like projections are called as villi, which absorbs the nutrients. Internally, this villi comprises of numerous blood capillaries, which actually absorbs and sends the nutrients into the bloodstream. If it is entering into the bloodstream, which means it is going to all parts of our body. And then these absorbed nutrients, whether carbohydrate or protein or fat or vitamin or minerals, they are assimilated. We have discussed what is meant by assimilation before. Okay, so it becomes the part of our body, or which is necessary, whatever that is necessary. These molecules are converted into that necessary molecules. The third part of the large intestine, that is ileum. which also comprise of many finger-like projections, villi, but the structure is different. So this is actually mainly involved in the absorption of vitamins and minerals. The other nutrients are absorbed in the duodenum and jejunum. Vitamins like calcium, minerals like calcium, zinc, all those are absorbed in the third part of the small intestine, that is ileum. One more important significance of small intestine is, the villi actually enhances or increases the surface area, because if there is less surface area, only less amount of nutrients can be absorbed. Since the villi have finger-like projections, they have more surface area, and because of that, more amount of nutrients can be absorbed from the food. Now the food enters into large intestine. So this large intestine is about 1.5 meters long, and this large intestine is involved in the absorption of water. So excess water is absorbed in the large intestine. This large intestine also called as colon, C-O-L-O-N, colon, which can be divided into three names: ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon. So left side you have ascending colon, and above horizontally you have transverse colon, and on the other side, that is on the right hand side, where you come across descending colon, ascending, descending. Okay, you have numerous microorganisms in this colon, and those microorganisms or bacteria are called as coliforms, because certain, for example, cellulose cannot be digested by our digestive system. So these bacteria are involved in the digestion of cellulose. I hope you know which contains cellulose. That is green leafy vegetables. They are made up of cellulose. You might have learned under plant cells. Plant cell contains cell wall. Cell wall is made up of cellulose, which cannot be digested not only by humans, which cannot be digested by some animals. So in our case, in humans, we have numerous coliforms in the large intestine, bacteria, actually coliforms, mostly bacteria and some protozoans. They are involved in the degradation of cellulose, and at last, after absorption of water, nutrients, the remaining food comes and it is stored in the rectum. So it is a small muscular bag where the remaining undigested, unabsorbed food are stored, and from rectum the waste is sent out through anus. When we are learning about the structure of the digestive tract, I said that there is a small vermiform appendix, which is nearer to the which is nearer the site where small intestine connects with the large intestine. So the use of this appendix is when you are swallowing some materials which cannot be digested by your body, all those are stored in this appendix. So in normal condition it's not a problem, but in some cases the storage of unwanted substance in appendix may result in some infection, bacterial infection, and that results in a disorder called as appendicitis. So you have many terms like that: meningitis, appendicitis, bronchitis. All these are names of infections like that. Here you have appendicitis. So in this condition, only way of treating the problem is they remove this small vermiform, the small appendix from our body, surgical removal of appendix, and that is the only way I think to treat this appendicitis. Before ending our digestion in human beings, one more point you have to note in mind. When I was teaching about nutrition in amoeba, I said they are called as intracellular digestion, that is the digestion takes place inside the cell. And in case of humans and other higher forms of animals, the type of digestion is called as extracellular digestion, that is intra means inside. In amoeba it is intracellular digestion. And in humans and other animals, where the digestion, even though they take place inside alimentary canal, even though they take place inside the body, the digestion is not inside the cell, and so it is called as extracellular digestion, that is the digestion taking place outside the cell, not outside body, outside the cell, extracellular digestion. Our last topic in this lesson is digestion in ruminants. Actually, when we come to this cattle, okay, they are called as cattle. Literally, they are called as cattle, and in science we use the word ruminants. Okay, so not only cattle, even humans. Just now we finished this digestion in human beings, and certain other animals. They don't have the capacity to digest cellulose. That is, when we eat any kind of plants, any kind of vegetables or green leafy vegetables, they are all made up of cellulose. So it's like a packet. Unless you open the packet, you cannot get the nutrient from inside. So each and every plant is made up of cellulose. I mean, the plant cell, outer covering, each cell made of cell wall made up of cellulose. Unless you break the cellulose or cell wall, you will not get the nutrients. So in that case, at least maybe we people, human beings, we are omnivorous. We eat all kinds of foodstuffs, not only plants, all kinds of foodstuffs. But with regard to this cattle, which are all herbivores, they eat only plants, and without breaking the cellulose or cell wall, they don't get nutrients at all. So in this case, there comes God, who has gifted them, all these animals and even human beings, with certain bacteria. Especially we will talk about this cattle, where we have methanogenic bacteria. They are called as methanogenic bacteria, which are involved in the digestion of cellulose. That is, the cattle do not have the enzyme to digest cellulose. That the enzyme to digest cellulose is cellulase. So cattle do not have cellulase, but these bacteria, they have a cellulase enzyme, and thereby the cellulose is broken down so that the nutrients are obtained or absorbed by the cattle. Okay. These bacteria are called as methanogenic bacteria because when they degrade or digest cellulose, the byproduct that is obtained is methane gas, and that's why they are called as methanogenic bacteria. And I hope you know this principle, what we are using in gobar gas. That is, when we collect the cow dung from these cattle and put in a huge container, mix some water, we have to go for stirring daily. What happens, the bacteria which is already present in the colon of this cattle, they'll be found in the cow dung, the dung or cow dung, okay, and they'll be continuing their process in degrading the dung or the cellulose that is found in the dung, and thereby methane gas is produced. This methane gas, the chemical formula of methane gas is CH4, which is equivalent to our LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. Okay, that is, I hope you can understand what I am going to say about. The methane gas can be used in kitchen for cooking gas. So that is the application of this methanogenic bacteria, or application of cow dung, or this use of this ruminants. Right. So now we are looking at an anatomical diagrammatic representation of digestive system of a cattle. So where you come across mouth, esophagus, you have this stomach, small intestine, colon, which is always called as large intestine, rectum or cecum, and anus. Okay, so let us concentrate on the stomach. So the stomach in the center, which is divided into 4 chambers. That is this is the special of cattle. It is divided into 4 chambers, which includes rumen, reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. These are the 4 chambers of cattle. Rumen is the first chamber, the second chamber is reticulum, third is omasum, and fourth one is abomasum. When these animals consume food, that is grass or any kind of plants, they enter into the first chamber called rumen, where this rumen consists of various cellulose degrading bacteria. So they involve in the degradation of the cellulose, and the partially digested food, which is degraded by cellulose, bacteria, which the partially digested food, actually which is not digested by the animal but digested by the bacteria, it enters into the second chamber, that is reticulum. Now from reticulum that food is brought to the mouth, and this is called as cud. The undigested food is called as cud. So this is further chewed by the animal. This is another special characteristics of cattle or ruminants. You might have found in many places, especially cow sitting aside in a place, and in Tamil they say asai podrathu. Like that, they chew the food that is swallowed and that is partially digested by the bacteria, and after chewing slowly it again swallows, and that food enters into the third chamber, and from again it now the digestion takes place inside the stomach by the animal, and from the third chamber and the digestive food enters into the fourth chamber, that is third chamber is omasum. From omasum it goes to the abomasum, and then in the intestine the nutrients are absorbed and it is sent out through the anus. Right. So our second lesson with this topics comes to an end. Okay, so as I usually say, you don't hesitate to read. You may think I'm just in 6th standard, I'm just in 7th standard. It's not like that. So even though you are in 7th standard, whatever you learn is important for your life or for your higher classes, because we come across some students who suffer in higher classes, that is in 10th or higher secondary, without basic knowledge. So basic knowledge is very, very important. These are all I would say these are all very simple aspects. What you are learning is not heavy, which is very simple. Just you are learning a small idea about each and every process. So this habit you should follow in your life, that is reading regularly, whether a test is conducted or not, whether parents insist you to read or not. Just take the book, go aside somewhere, sit and go through the lesson. I'm not saying going through the answers. Apart from that, going through the lesson or book is important. Each and every point is important, which is important for your life. So because in Tamil they say Katravanukku sellum idamellam pugal. So in that way you will be respected in future by all human beings, everyone. Even God will respect you only when you study properly, because your duty. Okay, so each one have their own duty based on their life or based on their age. So your duty is to read and obey your parents. If you do that, God will be more pleased on your behavior and He will bless you abundantly. So my prayers for you. So try to be good in your life by doing your duties properly. God bless you. Wish you all a great future, sound and happy life. Thank you.